Hello everybody out there in Atlanta, this is Chris from HLXy.com with another exciting episode of Topher's Log. For today's topic, we're going to sort of dive deep into an old Horror Nights character and sort of see how this person or this character could or could not fit into this year's Halloween Horror Nights. This has been, this particular topic with this character has come up by the last couple months, specifically because of things that were said and things that were done at the time that this character came. That sort of hinted the fact that they may or may not be back this year. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive into it. This is a deep dive, and let's get right into it. So of course the character that I'm referring to is the Terra Queen. Now the Terra Queen showed up in the year 2005. It was Halloween Horror Nights 15. It was the last year that was held over there at Islands of Adventure. My opinions on 2005 might be a little bit controversial, I don't know. But I actually consider 2005 to be the last really true great year for Horror Nights, or at least what the team could really do in terms of immersive storytelling with Halloween Horror Nights. Of course, fans love 2008, and I get that because the houses in 2008 were better. But I think the storytelling in 2005 was much better than in 2008. While the houses might not have been, I do have a separate year for my favorite year for houses, and it's not 2008. But I prefer the storytelling. I prefer the world that was created in 2005. This world of Terra Queen, and Terra Queen was of course ruled over by the Terra Queen. The entire park, the whole of Islands of Adventure was basically turned into this world of Terra Queen. And every piece of, every island had its own theme, its own land, its own sort of a way that it tied into the entire overall story. You know, you started at the Terra Gate, which was the port of entry. Ironbone Gorge, which was Marvel Superhero Island, the South Hollow, which was up there in Toon Lagoon, the Gorewood Forest, which was Jurassic Park, of course, and the Dragon Forge, which was over there in Lost Continent, and then the North Hollow, which was over down there in Seuss Landing. There were the Scare Zones also had their own little places in the world as well, you know, such as the Terra Guard Run. Which was, you know, over there in the port of entry. The Blood Thunder Alley, of course, was Marvel Superhero Island. The Cemetery Mines, of course, was over there in Jurassic Park. And the Fire Pits was over there in the Lost Continent. And again, all these little places had their own sort of part to play in this overall sacrifice. But of course, it all started when you first entered the gate in the Terra Gate there. At the front, there was the Terra Throne, which was made out of the Gorewood tree. I think it was called the Gorewood tree, where the Queen, during the season of the Queen, I'm sure you've all seen that image, that media image of the Terra Queen riding on the motorcycle. The Bone Choppers, the Terra Guard or whatever, as it were, on those damn motorcycles. The Queen sort of rode around on this motorcycle with bat wings, and that was how she sort of picked out these sacrifices of people to sacrifice to this tree. The entire storyline about the Terra Queen revolves around this ritual, this cycle of sacrifice, where, like I said, a random person would be picked out of the audience and then brought up to the tree and then sacrificed. And that blood was then soaked into the tree, which turned the tree into this weird sort of, it wasn't necessarily wood, it was like a sort of half wood, half mineral thing or whatever. And then the blood that was soaked into the tree would spawn these bloodberries on the tree, like these little fruits would grow, and those fruits would be picked during the season of the Queen for to make this bloodberry wine, which I think in the storyline that was going on, they would take the bloodberries over to the Ironbone Gorge, over to the Demon Cantina, where the Demon Cantina would then turn the bloodberries into wine, into this bloodberry wine concoction. But the body parts and the dead bodies, the people that were sacrificed, were sent over to the Gorewood Forest, which was they were sent to the body collectors. This was the first year the body collectors showed up, and the body collectors would sort of mine all the parts, and then they would be sent over to, I believe it was the Dragon Forge or the Tangleroot Fire Pits, and all the parts would be all the spare parts would be basically forged into this metal, which would make the Terra Throne blade, which would be used to sacrifice the victims. And then at the very end of the event, when the event ended, the queen herself was sacrificed, and then the whole cycle is supposed to start over. Now, the whole reason why people believe that the Terra Queen is coming back this year is because she said that her cycle is every 15 years. So technically, we are 15 years removed from 2005, and Halloween Horror Nights 15. So the Terra Queen should, in some capacity, return to this year's event. Given the reason why some people may or may not think that this character may, let's start with the reason why some people don't think that the character is going to come this year is because of the way that the event has sort of shifted its focus. We don't really have what we had in 2005, which was this, this totally immersive storytelling type thing. We really haven't had that since 2010. I think that was the last year we sort of had this this really immersive storyline, which involved fear and all that stuff. I think that was the last real vestige of that up until the new era, which started really in 2012. The other reason why some people don't believe that that she is coming is because the event is going to be held at Universal Studios Florida, and the world of Terra Queen, at least for me, I think is sort of cemented in the realm of Islands of Adventure. I think you can't really bring Terra Queen over to the parks or make Universal Studios the world of Terra Queen, because we already have a Terra Queen over at Islands of Adventure. So I like if they were to do that, like especially somebody who really enjoyed the storytelling of 2005, I would not like that. I think that if the Terra Queen was to show up this year, I think it might be great to give her her own house, because she didn't really have her own house in 2005, but she was, sort of the center point of all of what was going on in Terra Queen. I can't understate how much I love how much all that stuff interwove with each other. I mean, the mere fact alone that they turned Islands of Adventure into all these different lands of Terra Queen, I think was genius. I think it was done really well. Like I said, I love 2005 so much. So if they were to sort of skimp on that and make Universal Orlando Terra Queen, I wouldn't like that. And I think I would be willing to bet that some or most of the diehards wouldn't like that either. But I think we would be fine if she showed up in maybe house form. I think that would be great. Continue her story and give her own house. When it comes to the Terra Queen, of course, in 2005, most people don't know, or at least I don't want to say don't know, but there's another face to the event in 2005, and that is this woman right here. That is the storyteller. So the storyteller, of course, was the icon for 2005. Now, a little bit of more controversy, amongst the diehards. It depends on who you talk to. Like all this stuff, whenever you talk about things that may or may not have happened behind the scenes, sometimes there's different stories that run amok, and things sort of get pipe through the grapevine, and it's sort of hard to sift through what's true, what's not true. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I was told about what happened in 2005. Now, of course, like I've said a couple times during this video, the world of Terra Queen was so immersive and so deep. I only scratched the surface when I talked about how all this stuff worked. I didn't even get into how all the houses tied in and all that other stuff. What I was told was that the marketing team didn't know how to sell the world of Terra Queen, which is understandable, because I think it's easy for people just to say, well, plaster the Terra Queen all over the ads and people will be fine with that. Well, not necessarily, because when you just throw a weird looking symbol like that up there, people are just like, what is that? And yeah, I don't think that would have worked. So what they did do was they came up with the idea of the storyteller, and this whole world of Terra Queen was one of the storyteller's stories, one of her books. So she was telling the story of Terra Queen, and that's sort of how the storyteller was kind of born. I actually like that approach. I like the fact that this world of Terra Queen is a story from one of the storyteller's books, and that's how we were immersed in the world. Because a lot of people also at the time, things like Lord of the Rings was popular, and Harry Potter, all these fantasy sort of stories were out there in pop culture. And, this sort of really kind of fit that bill. And then to, of course, immerse the guests in that world, I think was brilliant. I think that was genius. The compromise, while a lot of the diehards don't really like the storyteller, and you can kind of tell they, because even to this day, we really don't have a lot of knowledge about where the storyteller comes from. We know her name is Elsa Strict, but it's kind of all we know. We don't know any of her backstory. We don't know any, where she comes from. Almost in the same way as Chance, where we don't really know too much about her backstory, but she's just one of the icons. A lot of the diehards do consider the Terra Queen to be an icon. I also kind of do as well. I think that she was supposed to be the icon, but then they kind of, like I just said, had to go off in another direction. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know a lot of the diehards get all pissy possy when it comes to the marketing department and how they come in and put their hands on things. That's how business works, and especially when it comes to physically marketing the event. Because I do agree with the fact that the whole world of Terra Quintus, like, how do you physically sell that aside from just putting the Terra Queen on all the ads without telling people exactly what was going on? Because I think that would have also been a disservice to the fact that this world of Terra Quintus was so deep and so detailed and so immersive that you wouldn't know it till you actually got there. You're just like, well, what is this lady's deal? Like, how does this work? So I think that the making the whole world as this story that the storyteller was telling, I think worked fine. I think worked great. And the storyteller, of course, has gone on to be a favorite icon, of course, of some people. It is what it is. I enjoy the storyteller quite a bit. I think there's room for both. I think both work just fine. Although the storyteller is the one that showed up in a house that year. Not the best of houses, but she did show up in a house. So I think that, let's say that for sake of argument this year, somehow the Terra Queen is front and center on the marketing, and they sort of bring the world of Terra Quintus over to Universal Studios Florida. What could work is the same thing that they did in 2005. Maybe also bring in the storyteller and have it be another one of her stories. It's just another, another one of her storybooks on her shelf that deals with the whole world of Terra, of the Terra Queen. And maybe this is a different land in Terra Quintus. It's not necessarily Terra Quintus, but maybe it's something else, a different sort of, city or world in this fantasy land. That could work. I don't think they would do that. I think we would probably get, the most we would probably get is a house with the Terra Queen story sort of continuing. I don't think they would put or make the Terra Queen front and center this year. I don't think that would actually work. But it is what it is. Who knows? I don't know. I would like to see the Terra Queen back, but it's not something that I would that would make or break the year for me. I think that there are a lot of other things that they could do for this year for the 30th anniversary. Just so happens that the Terra Queen's 15-year cycle or whatever comes on the 30th. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. I know a lot of fans would like to see the Terra Queen back, like I said. But I just don't know if they would do like this fully immersive thing. I think it would just be in house form. I think they would just kind of throw her story and give her a house and give her due sort of for her 15th cycle or her cycle of the 15th. You can condense the whole Terra Quintus world into a house. You could have the body collectors back. That'd be cool. You have maybe walk through the Demon Cantina briefly or whatever. You can condense that into a house as long as they give it enough room. Maybe put it in a soundstage, or maybe the new parade building. You can totally do that. I mean, like, that would be totally acceptable, and totally still fit the bill of bringing her back and sort of continuing her story, as opposed to making all of Universal Terra Quintus or some kind of version of a world that lives within that world. So I think that would be great. I think if they want to do that, that'd be fine. I'd be totally cool with that. But as far as, like I said, I as a fan of what they did in 2005, I would not be okay with them making Terra Quintus over in Universal Studios Florida. I think it would have to be over at Islands in order for me to sort of get on board with that, of bringing that whole world back and making the park that world. Because for me, Terra Quintus is Islands of Adventure, not Universal Studios Florida. So let's not do that. but it is what it is. But anyway, that's it, guys. We talked a little bit about the Terra Queen. I hope I did it justice. You know, I would not be surprised if Terra Queen does show up in some way, shape, or form. You know, maybe in a scare zone, maybe in a house. I don't know, but would not surprise me. That is it for me, and that's it for this week's episode. Like I said, I hope I did it well. But anyway, guys, that's it for me, and I will see you guys next week.